Hey, what's going on? Last weekend was at Summit Point for Drift Nirvana, first event of the season. Went super well, ran out of tires, had a few issues, pretty minor, but also realized I needed to do some maintenance I just didn't have the time to do before last weekend. So changing out the spark plugs is something that I do once a year on the 1J. I guess oil gets into it and kind of causes some breakup issues that I was having in fourth gear, like on carousel. So I had 2 spark plugs lying around, and then thanks to Amazon, got the other 4. Mounted a bunch of tires actually earlier, so have like all of these, plus the ones on the car, and then a bunch of dead tires, some GT radials over there as well for the other car, and bunch of stage wheels sitting over there. If you're curious as to what I'm running for a practice tire, I normally would use the Kendas because they last the longest. The Kendas don't have like the best grip for a competition tire, but they do last a long time, but you know, you can't really find them now. So I've switched over to these Linglong crosswinds. They're pretty cheap. They do last a decent amount, but they have pretty bad grip. So I just have compensated for that by running lower tire pressures, and it hasn't really been an issue. You know, they don't last as long as the Kendas, but you can find them, so that's kind of more important at this point. And, you know, in the FD car, we use the GT Radial 255 4018s that everybody runs, and up front we are running a 245, I think, in the front on that car. So yeah, and this car we run on this car I run a 235 on the front. And I did get my hands on some Kendas a while ago, and yeah, they're fine. I mean, they're not anything amazing, but I do like them up front, and I would probably like them more than the Linglongs, because again, the Linglong grip-wise are not great, but for longevity purposes, they do make a difference. So I did get started already on the spark plugs. You can kind of see the old ones. You can kind of see the old ones here. And yeah, I don't know, they seem fine. They're just oily. I mean, that's kind of the nature of this stock turbo, and it has a decent amount of blow-by in it. And so, yeah, it's just something that I mean, the turbo is eventually going to go. I do have a spare sitting over there that's used. And, you know, again, it's sort of like a once-a-year type thing. As soon as the car starts, it started to break up around, I would say, the Summit Point, the Summit Main Invitational. So that was like last November, right after Thanksgiving or something like that. And I could tell like there was starting to do a little bit of miss. It was starting to miss a little bit in third gear. And last weekend it was noticeably bad when I was in fourth gear. And yeah, so again, not a big deal. It's just changing some spark plugs. So after that, I'm gonna change my diff fluid, and then also gonna be driving this thing next weekend. So just charging it. I haven't really touched it since last year. It's an X30 OTK kart. Super fun, super intense. And yeah, probably gonna try to fire it up, and hopefully it works, but like I really haven't had the time to do anything with it. So yeah, it's a 125cc go-kart. It weighs I think with me in it, it has to weigh 370 pounds. And that's why I have all these like lead weights on the seat. Because I guess you know, need to add some weight in order to meet the minimum weight. And again, it's a super fun kart. I usually go to Sandy Hook Speedway in Bel Air, Maryland, or United Karting out in BWI Airport. And that United Karting actually has rental carts as well, so really fun to take advantage. And in terms of just like being able to hop in one of those if you want to get some seat time, there is actually like elevation changes in their course, even though it's in a parking lot. So that's also really cool. It eats up tires more than Sandy Hook Speedway. So that's kind of one thing to consider. The surface is a parking lot surface and not like a racing surface. So that's kind of, you know, the drawback to it. But yeah, if you're looking to get into motorsports or some cheap, like quick seat time, that place is by far like the best rental go-kart place in the DC, Baltimore area, just because it's an outdoor course. You get to go a lot faster than you would in those indoor Autobahn places, and then the rental leagues are super fun as well. I think I've talked about them in the past, but yeah, I might head there kind of towards the end of the month. I mean, there's kind of drift events sporadically out throughout this month, so the next drift event I'm going to will be at Langley Speedway, and then after that I don't think I'm doing anything until April. So yeah, anyway, time to get to work. So just finished putting in the spark plugs, and the old ones are, you know, they have a bit of oil on them, so I don't think it's the valve cover gaskets because I did those somewhat recently. I think honestly it's just the turbo is starting to go, but it kind of does this every year, and they need to be basically replaced every single year as well. So not surprising. We're just gonna fire it up real quick, and then after that gonna move on to changing the diff fluid, since I haven't done that as well. And as you can see, batteries in the back, and we got this nice cross structure. So this middle switch here turns the fuel pump on. Whoop, better take it out of gear. Fuel pump on, key on. Uh-oh. Battery probably needs to be jumped. All right, well, the battery was deader than dead, so put it on a charger for a few hours, and let's try to start this. Sweet, well, guess it works. All right, well, that's good. So spark plugs changed, fires right up. I guess I'll put the cover on now, and then we'll get to the diff fluid change. All right, so we got the cover back on. Nice, beautiful 1JZ VVTi spark plug cover. Spark plugs are changed, car runs, everything's great. Now we're gonna move on to the diff fluid change. I actually don't know where I actually don't know where my fluid pump thing is. Pretty sure it's in the trailer, but I actually want to have kind of a bifurcated tool set and stuff like that, so that stuff can just live in the trailer forever. And then I also have a set for my garage as well. So went out, bought that, even found some Shell Rotella 1540. OMG, like, it's a unicorn out these days. In case you're wondering, that is the oil that I use for both the practice car and the pro car, and it's just really good at maintaining its viscosity at high temps, and it holds up really well. And it's known to be kind of one of the best oils, which also is why it's really hard to find right now. So anyway, so they had a big bottle of it at Advanced Auto Parts, and yeah, just went ahead and grabbed it because now I have a stockpile for the next time I need to do an oil change, which will probably be pretty soon. So anyway, got that, and I got the fluid pump. Now about to jack up the rear, and then yeah, we'll we'll drain the old stuff out. And I like to use Redline Heavy Shockproof. It just holds up extremely well against temperature, and it like does wonders. So yeah, that's just kind of what I use. I guess just, you know, pump it in until basically it dribbles out. That's how you know it's full, and then you just put the fill thing back on, and then that's it. So anyway, easy as pie, right? And then the diff should be good for this year. Yeah, while I was under here, I actually noticed the axle bolts were a little loose. You can see I can actually like kind of move it around with my finger. Maybe you can't. Maybe you can. Yeah, so you can see this is like actually a little loose. So I'm gonna go ahead and just check over. These are probably fine, but since that is loose, I'm gonna do that. And then always, when you're changing your diff fluid, always open up the fill port first, because if you open the drain port and you can't open this, then you're kind of screwed. So you always want to open the fill port first, and then after that you open up the drain, and then, you know, there's the big drain pan that the fluid's just going to go into, and then we pump the new stuff in. So pretty simple, but just kind of routine maintenance in order to avoid having a differential failure. beautiful. Alright, so it's a little milky. It does go in red now. It's it's been a year, I think, since I last changed it. We're gonna dust this off and then try to look at the drain plug to see how much metal is collected on it. You expect these ring and pinion gears to only last like, I don't know, 2 or 3 years, and so it's been one. So it also really depends on how well built the diff is. I actually have Charlie Tyson, who's my spotter this year. He usually assembles and sets the backlash on my diffs, and he does it in a way that's really tight, and because of that they tend to last a little bit longer than the normal ones. So yeah, I mean, it looks like there's some metal like specs and stuff on this, but again, to be expected. But yeah, we're just trying to make the diff last as long as possible, yeah, we'll just let it drain for a bit before filling it back up. Bit of a manual process pumping the fluid into the diff, and anyway, you literally just have to keep doing it until there's fluid spewing out down the side. So anyway, yeah, this is super fun. But then yeah, and I accidentally let the hose go and got everywhere, so just gotta keep doing this. And that's how you know it's full, when it's pouring out the side. So anyway, I think it takes like 1.8 quarts to completely fill the diff. And so yeah, I'm just gonna keep going. Work on the S14 is done, it's back on the ground, everything's good with that. And yeah, I really want to start this go-kart up. I haven't touched it in like a year, so I'm like kind of nervous. I charged the battery, so that should be all fine, but I don't know, let's like turn it on and see what happens. Yeah. All right, well, that works. Yeah, I just took a little bit of kind of choking the motor, and it's carbureted, so it's a little finicky, but thing rips, so can't wait to do that. I just need to actually replace these. So this is the water pump, and these two belts are like the water pump belts, and basically it's driven by, the axle. So these cords are kind of frayed, and I ordered new ones, and it'll be pretty simple to fix, and I just need to get some race gas, need to lube everything up, but really good to know that this thing actually works, and I guess I'm driving it next weekend, and oh man, whew, race gas smells awesome, but yeah, it's a little smoky in here. So anyway, until next time, I'm Nate Chen.